Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. In today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about Gozyuger and the state of the show. Just look at the state of it. But I've been thinking about this show a lot the last few weeks. You know, if you don't remember or you don't know if this is the first time watching this video, get out of here. There's lots of lore in here. No, I'm just kidding. But when I went into the series, I was trying to go in with a more positive outlook because I have been exhausted being waterboarded by these constant Toku crossovers and anniversaries ever since Decade/Gokaiger. Just hasn't let up. And us doing an anniversary series so soon and changing the numbering clearly just to get to the anniversary quickly. And you know they're going to do more anniversary stuff next year. They're not going to waste it. But I wanted to stop being a party pooper and embrace the fun. And I think that's mostly worked, especially the first handful of episodes. You know, I really liked the pilot, which I'm going to talk about a couple times here. And in general, I haven't felt myself feeling that urge to complain about the anniversary elements or aesthetics or whatnot because I'm kind of going in with a different mindset. With that being said, I do really feel the show's starting to show itself as being rather hollow, and I haven't started to feel like I'm hating it or like not necessarily looking forward to it, kind of like I was like really annoyed and just in a bad mood during the first time I watched Geo. But I do feel like there's so much missed potential here and the show feels more hollow than usual. And talking about this, I'm going to get into the story of like, not the story, but the aspect of Sentai being a toy commercial, which we all know it is. You know, various times over the years when I've talked about like, oh, it feels like it's just to sell the toys or this feels hollow because of that, people always say, well, yeah, Sentai is a glorified toy commercial, which is true. But we all know, I mean, at least for the most part, I think a good deal of us older Sentai fans here watch the show for more than that. Like, yeah, we get suckered into buying the latest toys and gimmick, I'm sure, but we know that Sentai and Rider can be a damn good show, even ones that are more toy heavy. There can be good storytelling there, and there are some that pull it off better than others. But I really feel like in this last handful of episodes, Gozyuger's felt really hollow. I'm going to use that word a lot, so don't take a shot every time I say that, unless it's water. Stay hydrated, folks. But anyway, I feel like it feels thin. Like, truly the only priority is to sell the toys, and it kind of reminds me of Gozyuger Brave. Gozyuger Brave was a miniseries, kind of more like a web series feel, where it took like the outline of what you get in a Sentai in terms of cliches, and then just fast-forwarded it just to sell the new toys, which again, we all know it's there to sell toys, but I'd argue it's anywhere from a 50-50 split to a 70-30 split in terms of story and toy selling, because there's a lot of good storytelling and character work in between all the toy sales, and out of the almost 50 episodes we get every year, not every single one introduces a toy, but Gozyuger Brave felt very thin because it wasn't really meant to be a real show. It was just meant to be kind of the shell of a show to sell the toys. And that's what Gozyuger's felt like recently. You know, it feels like each episode is just like, oh, hey, look, we transformed into a past hero, and we summoned a D-End-like summon of a past red, and here's Black Daijujin, which is really cool, by the way, which I'll get to in a second. But then there's Daijujin with the Zord Builder thing, and especially with the Zord Builder thing. Although I will say, you know, I've mentioned this many times, I really wish we would have saved the Robo Universe debut for this year, because so much easier to fold that into this than Boom Boomger where they just forced it. But still, it just really feels like we're hitting a checklist, and it feels like whatever plot we're getting that week is either something really strange and nonsensical, or if it's more part of the main plot, it just feels like a generic plot line just so that we can have the toys. Like even this week's episode, it's like, oh, we got to have this plot line so we have a reason for Polar to sort of work with Golju Wolf so we can debut the combination. And it just feels like there's just this emptiness behind it. Like we're just doing a checklist of Sentai cliches and plots. Like, oh, look, that's his brother. He's the evil guy. Here's some new toys. Because that's kind of what it was like in Gozyuger Brave. I think that Gold was Red's brother or something. I don't remember. It's been years since I watched the show. But it was kind of like that. Like, here's the Sixth Ranger, and he's related to one of them. And here's his mecha. And that's what this has kind of felt like. It feels like a checklist of here's the toy and the plot line we need to bring it in. And then the stuff with the characters. You know, we've largely got just very strange filler episodes, and I appreciated the zaniness at the beginning of the series. You know, the first episodes in particular had a very strange rhythm, but over time it's just gotten a little bit old, and as much as I like the No.1 battles presenting a different conflict than just the rinse and repeat of a standard Sentai episode, it's just getting a little bit tiresome, and sometimes the humor is just a little too much for me, and I wish there was more of a balance. Like, even in this last week's episode when I'm recording this, where Horu's friend had died and he like found this resolve to find a dream or whatever because of what she said, it's very quickly undercut by him being weird and snarfing down food and howling. And I know Sentai has those moments, but I wish that they could let it breathe. It kind of reminds me that people complain about, which I don't always agree with, but sometimes, you know, the MCU can't let a nice moment breathe and they'll have to have a joke. I think people over-exaggerate that because it's cool to hate on the MCU now. But I understand what they mean. You know, when you watch the Raimi Spider-Man movies and other superhero movies pre-MCU, they do have these more human moments that they don't need to be like, oh, that was kind of heavy, let's quip, you know? So again, don't always agree with that, but it kind of reminds me of that. And I just wish there was more balance. And it's not as if Gozyuger hasn't had some nice human moments. There's been some nice moments with Haru. I think in particular I liked Kinjiro's introduction episode. They've had a handful of them. But in general, the cast feels like hollow. There's that word again, like archetypes of just kind of being silly. Like even this week's episode with them trying to quote unquote help Haru with his date, they just felt like obnoxious characters. And I miss kind of having more of a grounded feel and being invested in the cast. Like, I'd say I'm more interested in the story overall of Gozyuger, just in terms of I want to find out what's going on with the anniversary elements and how all that ties in and what the plot's going to unfold to and what they introduce next, what new anniversary elements around the corner, what new designs around the corner. Like, I'm more interested in that, I think, overall, just in concept compared to Boom Boonger. But I have to say I miss Boom Boonger a little bit right now. You know, I didn't like the suits and stuff as much, although I consider myself a fan of those suits compared to some people. But in general, that show, despite it looking like it would be the most obnoxious Sentai of all time based on the suits, had a real grounded feel to it, kind of reminding me, like Kara Major, actually, of having that kind of more grounded, down-to-earth feel to the scenes and the way it was shot. You know, there'd be a scene of them at the base talking about, you know, what was Taya's problem this week, and it would feel like real characters talking about a problem. Like, you'd have Sentai-isms in there, but it felt like grounded, real people. And then with this series, it just feels like a sketch every time they're together, and I don't really feel the bond between them. I feel like they're not meant to be fully bonded yet, but I feel like they rushed them kind of working together. Like, I don't know, it just all feels really empty. And even like the anniversary elements, you know, Gokaiger, as we all know, is king. It gets overblown a little bit, but there's a reason why it's so good. And I don't want to see a show try to be Gokaiger, but I think what made it so successful as an anniversary season was, in addition to the cameos and all the designs, is it really celebrated the spirit of Sentai, in my opinion, whether it was the overall spirit and what it meant as a legacy, or the individual spirit of a series they were tributing. And Zenkaiger was a lot lighter on that, which I liked in the sense that, like, I didn't want to see them try to be Gokaiger, and so I liked their different approach, and it was more surface level. I think the closest you got to more meaningful tributes was stuff like them doing a tribute to the Jetman wedding, because it was kind of not an inside joke, but it's something you'd only get if you watched the show, and it meant a little something more if you understood the reference. But it was lighter on that, which was fine. But when we started doing this series and there was talk of past Reds and stuff, I thought, I kind of want to see them try to be like Gokaiger a little more. Not like copy them, but lean more into that, get some past cameos, make the overall Sentai legacy part of the story more than it was in Zenkaiger. And what we got here feels even more hollow than Zenkaiger at this present moment. You know, we still have more than half the series to go, so it could change my mind. But at the beginning, I felt it was more entrenched as an anniversary series compared to Zenkaiger, because Zenkaiger felt more aesthetic, and the overall legacy didn't come into play in the main show a lot. The closest was when they did the Jetman tribute, or when, oh my god, I can't remember Not Navi's name, but Not Navi would explain like what the Sentai power they were using is. And Gozyuger started out feeling more entrenched because it kind of involved this war and all these aesthetics and like returning character like Taya. But now it feels even more hollow, like it's just aesthetic. It kind of honestly also reminds me of the Dawn Brothers inclusion of past Sentai designs. It's like, why are you even here in a lot of ways? You know what I mean? I obviously know why it's here, but it doesn't feel like it's important to celebrating the anniversary. And I think the biggest drop ball with that is the returning Reds, or the Universe Reds, or whatever. Like, we started with Taya variant that was very much different. That was one of the most exciting WTF moments of the series right from the beginning, and I didn't expect every single Red to be a returning character. But I thought it would have been really cool to get Legacy Sentai characters for a handful of them, not just Reds. Like early on I said it'd be cool to get like a Blue Ranger, a White Ranger, maybe even a humanoid villain anti-hero character, you know, get Stacy in there, get Sonoya in there. That'd be really cool. Like, what if Stacy just transformed into Gosei Red all of a sudden? I thought that would have been cool, and I guess it depends on what they're doing with the story, because I thought that what they were going for maybe is that the Sentai characters we know are kind of trapped in this world as different persons, kind of like the Once Upon a Time curses, and I thought that could have been interesting. But I thought that would have made it feel more grounded in the anniversary elements, made things more interesting, given the returning actors a chance to play a different type of character. But instead, it's just been randos, and some of them have been pretty good, but other ones not so much. And I know some of them have worked in Toku too, but I don't think their aim is to be like, oh, let's tribute Sentai's 50th anniversary by bringing in a guy that was an Ultraman once. So I just felt like the wind was taken out of that by all the Sentai returning Ultimate characters, or Ultimate Universe characters, excuse me, not Ultra. being just random, and I really thought there was going to be more cameos. Like, again, you don't need to be Gokaiger and do Gokaiger 2.0, but I think having them basically do in a way what they did with Geo and having them playing different characters until possibly the end when some of them would get their memories back would have been a cool way to do their own anniversary thing. And I don't know, it just felt really hollow, and I hope it picks up. Like, even in the recent episodes, it feels like as soon as something exciting happens, it's very quickly swept under the rug. Like, I thought Polar was going to kickstart a new mini arc, and then he just kind of was there, and now he's just part of the nonsense. So it's a little bit disappointing because I've been going in more optimistic and was really enjoying it, but now it just feels so hollow and empty, and I hope it turns around. But let me know what you guys think. Do you feel the same about Gozyuger? I've seen some mixed opinions, but do you feel it's felt more hollow than other Sentai in regards to just being a showcase for selling the toys, or do you think I'm off base on that? Or what would you like to see them do to try to bring more heart and substance to the show? Anyways, guys, until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for all my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.